Back in our state, North Carolina DMV Commissioner Wayne Goodwin says the division anticipates the backlog of physical licenses and IDs to be processed before the end of this month. He made the declaration during what was really a heated committee hearing yesterday with the House Oversight and Reform Committee. Our coverage continues tonight on that hearing. More from Representative Alan Chesler, a Republican from Nash County. He's also a member of that House Oversight Committee. Representative Chesler, it's so good to see you. Thank you so much. It wasn't just that. It was a couple things that were involved with this hearing. How would you describe kind of what the focus was yesterday?
Yeah, thanks for having me. We've gotten quite a few comments about that. A lot of intrigue into that particular committee meeting. I would say the focus was getting to what triggered the decision to change vendors as far as printing our licenses goes with the DMV, and what process, essentially by what authority did they claim to create an independent process in order to award that contract.
So the DMV commissioner and this woman from this company, it got pretty heated. At least I listened to it remotely. It was very heated at times. Was it awkward? How did you process it as a lawmaker sitting there and watching this? And what did it mean for you in trying to get to the bottom of this?
It was heated in times. I don't think necessarily had to be, but it did end up there anyway. And so our thought process was essentially what we have found is a pattern within this decision-making process where at least on 3 or 4 different occasions where in this process they kind of put their preference before the law. And then the assumption, even in a direct comment from the general counsel that came back to us via email, was that, well, we just assumed that the legislature would be amenable to fixing the law. And as I said in the committee meeting yesterday, that's putting the cart before the horse. I understand that you have a preference and potentially a better way of doing things, but you should be in communication with your partners in that sphere. In this case, that would be the legislature, in addressing what you might see as a shortcoming or an inefficiency in the law, and allow us to partner with the department in making that correction. Not unilaterally make a decision and expect us to follow suit simply because you have a preference.
Commissioner Goodwin has said that he expects this backlog to be wrapped up by the end of this month. Do you have confidence that that will be the case?
I'm not sure. If you listened to the committee meeting yesterday, part of the plan to correct the backlog and to get it assessed or corrected, is to open up a second facility to print more IDs. And that, again, is in violation of our current statute. So, and it was a plan that was a compromise plan, I guess, between the current vendor and the commissioner that was never brought up before the legislature. Again, it was just one of those plans where we figured it would be okay because there's a backlog. And so it's again, technically violates the law. I don't think anybody has a problem with trying to correct an issue, but we're government actors. We shouldn't be violating the law in our own processes.
They technically, Commissioner Goodwin believes that they're sort of within the law, the spirit of the law. I mean, what do you think this means moving forward then? I mean, does further action in the legislature happen, or are you guys looking to just get to the bottom of what happened?
I think our goal is to get to the bottom of what happened so that we can avoid something like this in the future. No one's trying to unring a bell here. We're just trying to set the process in proper order and say, hey, look, we understand this was an act of convenience and expediency. However, we have checks and balances in place for a reason, and in the future, we want to see those adhered to.
Do you have less or more or the same amount of confidence in the vendor itself as well? Because obviously they've been around a long time. They've had a long contract with the state, and this is. Do you feel comfortable that they're doing what they need to do so this doesn't happen again?
Well, unfortunately, this part of this problem is that the DMV just decided to move away from that vendor altogether. That's where the new contract was awarded. And that's where some of the issues came through, was the process by which the new contract was awarded. I don't think my confidence in the existing vendor has changed at all by this process. Really, my focal point has been the process in and of itself, making sure that we have a transparent process where we can look at the public and say, look, we've honored our fiduciary responsibility to the public, and we're good stewards of the taxpayers' money.
So also at the committee, you heard a proposal that would take the powers, essentially, the governor appoints now, move it to the Department of Transportation, which that person's appointed by the governor anyways, but that's, separate, but also confirmation at the legislature from the Senate. What do you think about that proposal? And does this play into that?
I'm not sure this plays into that at all. I think this is just another check and balance, and the dance that we have with the executive branch, between the executive branch and the legislature. I think this is a continuation of that power balancing, and doesn't really have much to do with this particular issue at hand.
What do you think about that debate? Because this comes up over and over years, and now there is a confirmation process for some cabinet officials, essentially for the governor. What is the role in the legislature, do you think, of confirming those? I know some believe that it's the legislature meddling into executive branch affairs too much. What do you think?
I personally, I kind of like it. I like as much pushback, if you will, on just appointments. That it's a vetting process, right? And so it's not stating that the governor didn't go through a vetting process, but that's not a public process where our process is. And so it allows the public to say, hey, okay, look, these appointees have been thoroughly vetted. It's a public process by which we get to see their qualifications and any complaints that somebody might have, and we get to move forward with it.
Okay, we'll see what happens. Representative, it's good to see you, sir. Enjoy your weekend. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, absolutely.